Nitya and I met through the same writer's agency. She is also based out of Bangalore. Just like me, she's a yoga teacher and she's a writer. And I can see that she's on now. So let me just invite her in. Okay. So Nitya, welcome to my channel. Welcome to this video. Thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure.
You're a writer and yoga teacher from Bangalore. And I think you grew up in Bangalore as well. And your debut novel, Rudraban, which I ordered as soon as I saw your update on, on Instagram and on WhatsApp, it is up for pre-order on Amazon, and it will be out on March 3rd, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So basically, this book is an urban fantasy romance about two people who dislike each other but end up on an adventure trip together. And they have to face several mystical perils in the form of a curse that afflicts one of their families. So I always say that the best way to get to know someone is to travel with them. So it sounds like there is a lot of travel. There's a lot of other books in the pipeline. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
So I have a book that's tentatively titled Mahagauri. Is a mythological fiction. And so I have, that's going to come out with Rupa Publications soon.
Okay.
Then I have another one that's tentatively titled Navapashanam, which is an urban fantasy, and it's sort of like a treasure hunt thriller, and that should possibly also get tied in at some point by the end of the year, hopefully.
Okay. So you you graduated with a degree in hotel management before moving into the learning space as a technical trainer and then a soft skills trainer. So again, like a variety of things that you've done. And what brought you to yoga then? What specifically about yoga teaching?
So I realized the benefits that I got from practicing yoga, you know, and it was very beautiful, but it was very hard to explain to people.
Yeah.
Right. Because when people think of yoga, initially the first thing that comes to their mind is that it's slow and you don't really have results with yoga. So I figured that if I've benefited so much, and if I can take that across to a few more people and, you know, just touch a few lives with that, it'll be really great. So that's the reason that I got into teaching.
I guess writing is something that you've always done. With your husband's encouragement, you said, okay, you know, let me just like go for it. Let me put my work out there. You are also a jogger and a blogger. That rhymes. An amateur jogger and a blogger. So where can we read your blog? Where do you blog?
So I have a couple of blogs. One is a yoga blog, which, so there are a couple of things in the yoga blog itself. So there are like explanations on postures, but then there's also, musings, if you will, about spirituality, about yoga and things like that. So that's available at nityayogaanushasanam.com. And the other one is on petite words at wordpress.com. That's my microfiction and short stories and poems and stuff like that.
So did you actually read the hard copy?
I read the copy.
We have the same copy. So let me just tell everyone a little bit about the book. The book is called The Universe Has Your Back, Transform Fear to Faith, and it's by Gabriella Bernstein. This book was published in 2016 by Hay House Publishers. Now, Hay House is the #1 publisher for self-help, for inspirational books, and for transformational books and products. This book is actually a #1 New York Times bestseller book. And Gabby Bernstein is a best-selling author. She's an international speaker. And in her own words, she's a spirit junkie. And she has YouTube videos. She has a podcast that I listen to. So I wanted to ask you, because I've been following her for a while. And so a lot of the stuff that I read about did resonate with me. Was this the first time that you were coming across her and the book?
Yes. So this was definitely the first time I was coming across her. Right. But I think there was some kind of synchronicity in, the timing, I would say, because I was planning to pick up a couple of other titles by other authors. I had been meaning to pick that up. when
Okay.
when you said, let's read this.
Okay. So then what did you think about it?
So I thought that it was wonderful because these are all concepts that I definitely believe in.
Right.
I've for the longest time, I think ever since I read The Alchemist,
Yes.
I've always been drawn to the idea that the universe is listening to you and the universe wants to do good by you.
Right.
But then I probably didn't know how to get there. And with yoga, that sort of it paved the way.
Right.
To look inwards and to sort of understand that we're all just energy, and that energy can interact with anything in the universe. So it took a while to get there, but I think it was a lovely concept, and everything that she's explained is really beautiful.
So a little bit about the book. The subtitle is Transform Fear to Faith. This is basically a book about Gabby's method for how we can truly live a more fuller life. I find that, in today's life, especially where we are in a consumerist society, where we're always going from one goal to the other, we're constantly chasing things, and we're constantly living in fear and want and need, and a sense of deprivation is sort of like sometimes pervades people's days. And in this book, she sort of asserts that, you don't really have to run after anything. Instead, you can just sort of sit back, relax, work on your energy, so to speak, and let things come to you. Sit back and allow things to come to you. And that sounds to a lot of people like it's something very mystical, and it's in the realm of things which are unreal and not possible. But she does describe these methods, and she gives, like, what I really liked about this book is that she gives examples from her own life to support the ideas that she has. I think she was talking about trying to get pregnant. Like, you would think, as like a lot of us who are stuck, we think that, I'm trying my hardest. We think that we've set everything in place, and things are not working out, and then we think, okay, this method is not working. And I felt like with this particular example, and with all the other examples, she's sort of talking about how she is just like us. So I felt a great connection with her. How did you relate to the book? What made it relevant to you?
So unlike most books that are self-help or spirituality related books, there's a lot of preaching that happens in those books.
Yeah.
So when you compare it to that, this book was not as preachy. She gives you methods. There's ways that she describes. There's steps that you can follow and find a way.
Yeah.
Right. So when she says surrender, or when she says you need to stop projecting your fears, she teaches you how to do that in a very practical way. Right. And it's doable. It may not click for you instantly or the moment you try it, but it's practical. So you can give it a go. So it's not all preachy, and there's a way you can. It's palpable.
Chapter, she sort of makes everything simple. She talks about it in a very simple way. Like, I will now show you how to do this in steps. It becomes like more approachable. It becomes easier. So for everyone who's trying to have some sort of spiritual practice, this is a really good book to follow, because it starts you off. So what do you think about her prayers? She has these little prayers in the book. Was there anything that you felt that, okay, you can actually lean on, any prayer that you really like found yourself using?
Yes. So I found many of them very useful, specifically the ones where she talks about how you choose love. Yeah. So initially I found that a little bit, in the very first chapter, I found that she kept saying the same thing. And I was like, okay, where is this going, sort of?
Right.
But later, when she starts talking about it, and when she gives you those little prayers and affirmations, I found it very beautiful, because over the next few days, I did put it into practice. Every time I got angry with somebody, or every time I was about to judge someone, so I would say that I would actually lean into love and choose love, or I would that really helped me. So I spoke to myself. I used her affirmations.
Her book, in her methodology, she says, okay, by changing your perception, you can change your life. And I think a lot of us get stumped, like, okay, I want to change my life, but how do I change my perception? But sometimes what happens is we're just sort of thinking the same thing. So I felt that what she was saying was that if you have these affirmations, she calls them prayers. I think that is one of the most powerful methodologies that she's given to us.
Absolutely. So to particularly quote one thing that she said, I am determined to see this with love.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the one that I really used a lot.
Yeah.
Following this book.
Yeah. And I think these are so short and easy, that it does, like, just saying it does make sense to you, and that's how these affirmations start to work. And, that's how the, how your perception changes. So do you remember the part where she says, ask the universe for a sign?
Yes.
Okay. So did you try that?
I didn't try it yet, but I loved the idea.
Yeah.
Because I do believe in it. It's just that, I found, again, we always project our fears, or we work from a point of fear. We always worry that it's not enough, or we are not enough. So even as I read the chapter about signs, and I saw how easily she got her signs, I was a little skeptical about it.
Yes. I can imagine that, like a lot of, like there is always this hesitation. I think there's always this hesitation that people have, like, what if I don't get a sign, but even for that, she has she has that other perception where she says that, well, if you're not getting a sign, the kind of sign that you want, it means that the universe has a bigger plan for you. And so it's always, I find that it's very hopeful. I had actually asked for a sign. I said, okay, my sign is going to be a red 800, Maruti 800.
Okay.
And how many of those have you seen around? Like,
in a while.
Yeah, exactly. So for a whole week, I couldn't find anything. And I think it was time bound. And then we ended up going to Coorg over the weekend, and I spotted like 10 of them. So I'm like, okay, maybe there is something to this whole thing.
I think if you truly, believe that the universe and you are the same, then it's not that hard, actually. It's not, it doesn't become surprising that you did spot the Maruti 800, because it's supposed to happen.
Yeah. So I love that. Yeah. I love that whole, idea that, okay, there's this conviction that you and the universe are the same. Actually, that's something that we're studying in my Vedanta class also. You are the universe is you. Do you read the genre a lot? Like, what is your relationship with this genre?
So I have, from time to time, gotten back to it.
Okay.
I'm not so much of a nonfiction reader, although over time I have read some nonfiction. So I loved Mindset by Carol Dweck. Then there have been a few. I've read You Can Win, Shiv Khera. I've read Unlimited Power, Tony Robbins. So I've read a lot of nonfiction books, but I started reading spirituality about 5 years ago. So I've read a lot of titles by Sadhguru.
Oh, okay.
Right. And I was planning to start reading the entire bunch of books by the Tibetan monk, Thich Nhat Hanh. So I'm really looking forward to reading No Mud, No Lotus. Because there's one thing that Gabby says in this book as well. She says, stay with the pain. Right? She tells you to stay with the pain. So that's something that I really want to read more about. So No Mud, No Lotus is about how you look at suffering, and how, he says that through suffering and through staying with it, you find yourself. So that's definitely something that I want to read soon.
Yeah, sounds like an interesting book. What other books, like if somebody has enjoyed this book, what other books would you recommend?
I would definitely recommend most of the titles by Brené Brown.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of her podcasts, and I think she's also wonderful. Yeah.
Yes. So
Okay.
that's definitely something.
Okay. All right. And also, like about her methodology and, about the book, is there something that you didn't like? I guess you were talking about how, it was a little repetitive in the beginning. Is there
Yes.
anything else that you didn't like about this?
I found that even through her examples, like I think you already mentioned it, that she says he was instantly changed and he instantly felt relieved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that a little hard to believe.
Yeah.
There may be a slight shift in how you feel or your perception, or I don't think there'd probably be instant results. Maybe there was a little lack in depth,
Perhaps.
perhaps in the storytelling or in the examples that she used, but I don't think it was fake as such.
Yeah.
Right, because
Right.
she does talk about asking for help. She herself visits she like John of Good, or she's gone out there and she's done everything for herself, so she has taken help in many places.
Right.
So she's not just saying believe and everything is just going to be okay in a snap.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's a good point that you make, because I was listening, I listen to a lot of podcasts. So I was listening to one of her podcasts last week with one girl who had actually called her from Italy. And she was saying that, that the girl feels a lot of disconnect in life because I think she was adopted. And, she's constantly felt a sense of rejection, not only from her birth mother, because that was like to her mind, it was the biggest rejection, and and she doesn't really feel connected to anyone in her life right now, her family. So she was trying to sort of say that, if I found my birth mother, when will I find her? And that was her question, like I that she feels disconnected. And I remember Gabby said that in her opinion, you are energetically with the person that you were meant to be with. So she was sort of telling the girl that you should go out and look for your birth mother. But if she's asking Gabby for her opinion, her opinion is that energetically you are with the person you're meant to be with. That you might have been born through someone else, your spirit might have come through somebody else, but you're energetically now. So I feel that there's a lot of realism as well. And she constantly says, it's not only about sitting back and making all these affirmations. You continue the work, but you do the work from a point of view of faith, love, and this lack of frazzleness, like you should be like constantly frazzled, and then you should make your decisions, which also makes sense if you think about the parasympathetic nervous system. You have a relaxed nervous system, and anything you do, the way you interact with people, the kind of decisions you make will be better if your nervous system is stable, which is what I think, she's actually talking about. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to say about this book?
Just the last part. How did you feel about the last part, where she talks about becoming a spiritual warrior or a spiritual activist? What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think like I myself am not ready for that yet. Personally, I don't think I'm there yet, but I don't see myself as a warrior of any kind. I think, or a junkie of any kind. So I think I have a long way to go to get there.
Yes, so I'm there with you on that. That was the last part didn't sort of resonate with me, because I think most of us read this genre or similar books because we want to sort ourselves out to a large extent, right? And when you're so busy sorting yourself out, it's very hard to want to change the whole world.
Yeah.
Every time you choose love and you radiate love and you become love yourself, you're probably passing that on to somebody else. And with each person who does that, you can probably maybe change the whole world.
I would recommend this book. It is logical. she does talk from a place of authenticity, from a place of understanding. I mean, she is relevant. She herself talks about a lot of the difficult things that she's been through. Is there any specific quote that you remember from the book that you would like to share?
Yes, I'm going to read it out actually.
Huh.
But this is not her. So she quotes Deepak Chopra.
Okay.
Right? So she says, to feel free and surrender, we must learn to release our attachments. And then Deepak Chopra says, when you're happy for some reason, you're still in misery because that reason can be taken from you tomorrow. Instead of seeking some reason or outcome to make us happy, we must learn to trust in the wonders of the universe. Each day brings new miracles to celebrate. Each moment can be a miracle if we choose to perceive it that way.
I'm always surprised by how much of these teachings, like a lot of the spirituality that I read, like New Age, you could call all these books New Age spirituality. So many of them are rooted in Vedanta, so my Vedanta teacher talks about this all the time, that if you're not attached to it, then, you're happy all the time. Yes. It's not that you don't want it. It's not like you should actively push it away, but if you're not attached to it, it doesn't matter. You can be happy regardless, So I would actually also like to read a quote from her, and this is her own quote. So on page 159, she says, "Hope is the energy that carries us when we lose sight of our spiritual faith. Hope reminds us of the power of love and clears the path towards the highest good for all." So, throughout the whole book, we're talking about faith. And then she just gives this bit about hope, that both go hand in hand.
Beautiful.
All right. So yeah, it's been wonderful. I think I've wanted to keep these conversations like very short and sort of useful. So is there anything else you'd like to say? Otherwise, I think it's been wonderful.
Yeah, just go out, read this book.
Yeah. And also read Nitya's book. It's still on pre-order on Amazon, right?
Yes, it is.
And March 3rd is its release date.
Yes,
so we're going to be looking.
Yes,
and we're going to be looking forward to all the announcements on your Instagram. I'm going to link to your Instagram also in the notes, in the caption of the video. And so yeah, guys, Nitya writes wonderfully. Read her blog, pre-order her book, and maybe we can actually be on this show again doing a book review about your book, Rudraban.
I would love that.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you so much for having me, Pragya.
Thank you so much, Nitya. This was wonderful.